Two more. The Seattle Mariners are two more wins away from the first World Series in franchise history. Deep breaths, right? There is still work to be done. There is still a lot of work that this team needs to do, but there is zero doubt that they have put themselves in absolutely tremendous and almost perfect shape here to get this done. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into the Seattle Mariners ALCS Game 2 post-game recap. 10-3, the Seattle Mariners crush the Toronto Blue Jays in front of their home fans at the Rogers Center, and they take a 2-0 lead in this ALCS. Before I go any further, if you can do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps out tremendously. There's that new hype thing down there. I have no idea what it does. I'm sure it helps. So if you want to hype the video, go for it. If not, more power to you. Comment your thoughts on the team and the game down below. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you're new or lurking on the road to 5,500 subscribers. Thank you again to everybody always for the kind words on all of the videos. Winning one on the road is huge. When you can win, when you're on the road for the first two in any series, winning one is huge. We talked about with the Tigers, right? In that series, winning one game in Seattle was big for them. It gets you home field advantage. It shifts the home field advantage to win one. It puts you in really good shape when you get a W on the road when you're playing two. The Mariners have got two wins on the road. If one is good shape, two is tremendous, outstanding, excellent, beautiful shape. They are set up extremely well now, coming back home for 3 games where essentially you need to win a series, right? 2 out of 3 to advance to the World Series, and you get those 3 games at home. Not over. And again, I'm probably not talking to all of you. I'm probably reminding myself there is still work to be done. The team's got to buckle down. You've got to get a couple W's here and finish this off. Toronto is not just going to roll over. This is the playoffs, right? It's the ALCS. Teams aren't just going to go, we're just going to punt this one here. You're going to get everything you got from them. But the Mariners are set up extremely well now to get this done. Another, and I guess all playoff wins are like this, but what another gutsy, gritty win in the postseason from the Seattle Mariners. They've gotten outstanding starting pitching all playoffs. Today they didn't. Logan just didn't have it today. Probably tough having pitched out of the bullpen on Friday. Threw the ball tremendous in Detroit in Game 3. Just didn't really have it. Actually, I thought he settled down, was okay in the second, third. The first wasn't great. The Blue Jays hit the fastball and the splitter extremely well. Logan's a big fastball and splitter guy. So it's not shocking. This is just not a great matchup overall for Logan Gilbert. Doesn't mean he can't, slow down the Blue Jays and pitch well against them. It's just not the best matchup. And again, the starters are on a little bit of fumes right now. The great thing is the Mariners won the 2 games where their starters were on fumes. You had Bryce Miller on 3 days rest. You essentially had Logan Gilbert, on 2 days rest here. I mean, I know that was a bullpen game, and it probably would have been a day he threw in the bullpen on the side, but you won both those games. Now you're going home and you're going to have George Kirby on full rest, Luis Castillo on over a week's worth of rest, and Brian Wu will start Game 5. Looks like about a 50 to 60 pitch limit, but Brian Wu on a month's rest will have Game 5. So now you're coming home where you're lined up very, very well here to get it done. And you've gotten through what was going to be the 2 tough ones and kind of the aftermath from that Tigers series, the aftermath of playing 15, the aftermath of the Blue Jays getting more rest. That's kind of gone now. Now it's reset. Everything's fine. The Mariners are set up, like I said, extremely, extremely well in this one. Going back to the gutsy, gritty win here. Mariners get up 3-0 in the first. Blue Jays come back and tie it. But they don't let it get out of control. It felt like a game that was slipping away a little bit. It had some late innings Game 4 vibes against the Tigers, where they just kind of tied it and then just couldn't stop scoring. It felt like that might be happening here, but credit to Logan getting through that 3rd inning there, keeping them off the board, and just getting the guys back in the deck going, hey, it's 0-0, 7-inning game now. Not the end of the world. Toronto's going to fight back. It's been a great offense all season. They weren't going to roll over at 3-0. And I think in some ways, I was texting a buddy about this. I'm certainly more nervous in the postseason because every pitch is just like, ooh, ooh, ooh. But my overall calmness in terms of my reaction to things is more calm. My demeanor is more calm. because I think during the playoffs, it's just your game, right? It doesn't matter what Houston did or Texas did or Boston or New York or Toronto. Well, I guess it kind of matters what Toronto does, but you know what I mean? It's just your game. Just focus in. It's too deep in the season to get super frustrated at things. It's too deep in the season to get down 3-0, or excuse me, go up 3-0, see Toronto get the 3 runs and go, well, that's ball game. This is the ALCS. You're went into this game 3 wins away from a World Series. This is not the time to get down. This is not the time to go, oh, shucks. It's just time to buckle in, get outs, get back in the dugout, and get some runs on the board and put the pressure on them. The pressure was on Toronto today. We talked about that yesterday. They had to win this game, at least in theory, for where they're at in the series. Who knows what's going to happen? Again, don't have the crystal ball, but they had to go in feeling they had to win this game. We talked about it for game 2 against the Mariners against the Tigers. A little bit different, best of 5 series, less wiggle room if you go down 0-2 than here. But the pressure was on them to get it done. And by keeping it 3-3, you left the pressure on them. You didn't let them get ahead, settle in a little bit. And then, Toronto wins this. They settle in, they calm down a little bit, and they're back on a roll, potentially. Not that getting out of this series 1-1 would have been a bad thing. It would have been absolutely fine. But the Mariners did a great job just keep the Blue Jays in check, essentially. Or Jorge Polanco, every great postseason run has a dude. Has a guy that you can, you talk to baseball fans, any sport really, but baseball, it seems like especially because there's so many games in a playoff. You can mention names, right? 2004, David Ortiz. You say that, you can see the walk-off against, I don't know if the walk-off home run was against Rivera or not, but you can see it in your head, right? You can envision that 3-0 comeback by Boston. Jorge Polanco, not there yet, because again, still work to be done. But it's getting close. It's getting close for us as Mariner fans that we'll come back in 6 years and be like, man, remember Polanco's 2025 playoff run? I was like, ooh, man, he was on fire that playoffs, that entire playoffs for the Mariners. And every champion has to have one of those. You've got to have one guy that just is dialed in because you're going to have hot and cold stuff. Playoffs are still, even though it's a lot of baseball games, it's still a small sample size. It's still, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of baseball games. Guys, they'll have 480 OPSs, but they go 4 for 4 the next day, and it's 900. You kind of have to have one guy that just stays dialed in from start to finish. Cal's done that a lot for the Mariners, but Jorge Polanco it has been that guy. And it's great to see someone that's maybe not in that. I mean, it's hard not to call Polanco a superstar with what he's done, but not the Cal, Julio, starting pitcher guys. It's someone else right underneath them. And it's helped in multiple ways because, you've made the Blue Jays pay for the intentional walks to Cal Raleigh. That's why I never get mad at the intentional walks. We talked about it early in the year. Great. Put Cal on. I'll take more base runners because I have faith in Julio. I have faith in Jorge Polanco. I have faith in Josh Naylor. I have faith in Eugenio Suarez a little bit. Dom Canzone, Mitch Garver. How about Mitch today with a triple? I have faith in in those guys that they're going to come through in those spots and get it done for the Mariners. And that's why those intentional walks, I'm like, great, put more base runners on. I want more guys on. Another thing you did today, you avoided the high leverage arms. You get them an extra day off. Pizarro does pitch today, but then Vargas and Emerson Hancock finished out. I thought Carlos Vargas threw the ball very well. Looked more like the Carlos Vargas we saw in the middle of the season. Of course, I got the hiccups now. So hold on 1 second. Sorry about the pause, even though you guys and gals wouldn't know, I just paused the video. Only top of the line professionalism here on this podcast when we've got hiccups. I'm sorry, I've been yelling for 3 hours, was yelling for 3 hours yesterday. I think you'll all forgive me for it. It's just all catching up to me right now. Where was I? The Polanco hot streak, trusting people in the laps, the intentional walks. Julio with the big 3-run home run. He's been great in this postseason. Oh, and being able to avoid the big guns in the bullpen. Pizarro does pitch, but he had 2 days off going into today. You avoid Spire, you avoid Brash, you avoid Munoz. You give them an extra day off, which can't hurt them right now with how much they've pitched in this postseason. And also good to see Vargas and Hancock pitch because you may hit a point in these playoffs where you do need those guys. I'm sure you ask Dan or any Mariners fan, we would love to just be Pizarro, Spire, Brash, Munoz, and nobody else. That would be ideal, but it doesn't always work that way. You might not have starters out of the bullpen for certain situations. So it's got to be, you got to be able to trust a couple of those guys to get you some critical outs. And listen, I know we rag on Carlos Vargas. He wasn't that bad in the regular season. As like your 5th best reliever, he's okay. He can get ground balls, and he looked really good today. Emerson Hancock had some trouble throwing strikes. I'd be lying to y'all if I wasn't a little frustrated, but that's also postseason tension. Had this been a game on May 27th, we wouldn't have thought anything of what Emerson Hancock did. We would have said, okay, but because this is the ALCS, it's kind of like, dude, can you finish this off a little bit and get this over with so we can get this W? Dan managed it right, though. When he had Vargas in there, he had a leverage arm up behind him going into the 7th. He saw Brash getting up a couple times, Munoz getting up a little bit. Smart by Dan. Stick with the lower leverage guys because you want them to get through it at 10-3. But you have Munoz or Brash ready just in case, a couple runners get on, bases get loaded, something like that you can go to those guys right away and don't try and squeeze anything more out of Hancock and Vargas. But Vargas, I thought, legitimately looked good. Hancock wasn't amazing, but he got the 6 outs. And that's all that mattered, and that gets the team going home with 2 days off for 3 of their best 4 relievers. Can't say enough about Edward Bizardo. 2 great innings today, 2 shutout innings, and we'll get into the box score, but man, 2 wins away. I am rocking the old school Felix Hernandez jersey. I'm not going to lie. Apparently the gut has grown a little bit since this jersey was purchased. So the dad bod has settled in a little bit for me. But, anytime I see stuff like this, I always get sentimental for some players. Felix is one. Man, I wish he would have gotten to pitch in the postseason. Imagine the reaction to him coming out of the bullpen in game 5. Kyle Seager is another one that, man, I wish he would have gotten to pitch play in the postseason. I'm all over the place here. But guys that stuck out their careers here in Seattle. I know Felix went to, I think, Baltimore and Atlanta in 2020, but guys that played their whole career here deserved a shot at this, and just makes me sentimental. Not that I'm down on this. This is amazing what's going on right now, but really wanted a couple of those guys to be able to experience postseason baseball. So shout out to them if they're watching, which I'm sure they are not. Let's get into the box score today. If I can find my mouse, there it is. I can find the mouse. It's the arrow I have trouble finding. Logan Gilbert, 3 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 1 walk, 2 Ks. Not great. I mean, I think in a regular season game, obviously you let Logan settle in there and maybe he gets you through 5, and we talk about a gritty, gutsy 5-inning performance from Logan. But the guy pitched on Friday, and he didn't just throw 5 pitches. He threw 34, 35 out there. And that was after having started the game on Wednesday against the Tigers. Like I said earlier, the Blue Jays hit the fastball and splitter well. So I think it's a little bit of a tougher matchup for Logan. Again, normally I think you'd let him go because he kind of settled in there, I thought, in the 3rd inning. Even the 2nd inning, there was an infield hit and then moved the runner over. And then, Doug Eddings was atrocious. I don't know how I got 13 minutes into this video without mentioning how awful the home plate umpire was tonight. I will say, and after the Mariners win, I can say it was fairly equal. There was a missed call on Randy in the 1st, but Logan had George Springer struck out on that 2-2 pitch. Truthfully, the 3-2 pitch was also a strike. Cal didn't frame that one all that well, so I could kind of let that one go. But the 2-2 to Springer was absolutely strike 3. Of course, it leads to the tying run scoring. But back to Logan, so it's hard to judge a 3-inning start because maybe if he goes 2 more, he would have settled in and been okay. Not his best stuff today, but, like when they interviewed Dan during the game, he settled in and got through 3 innings for them. And, after Bryce gave them 6 yesterday, I think you're okay with that because, going into it, you'd expected Bryce to give you maybe 3 or 4 and Logan to give you 5 or 6. So they just reversed it a little bit. And good job, like I said, by Logan to have that shutdown inning in the 3rd and not allow Toronto to take the lead. Bizardo was absolutely fantastic. 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, no runs, and a strikeout. Carlos Vargas was solid for 2 innings, no hits, a walk, and a strikeout. Hancock, a little iffy, 2 innings, no hits, three walks, and a strikeout. Mariners only allow 6 hits today, 5 walks, and 5 Ks. And again, only 1 hit for Toronto after the 2nd inning. Very similar to yesterday. In fact, after the 2nd inning yesterday, they had no hits. So the Blue Jays just falling into maybe a little bit of a rut where those, teams that don't strike out a lot can fall into, I guess, where, and again, that they have a pretty good walk rate and they did walk 5 times, but just kind of a lot of quick outs from them, essentially. I got to say, and you guys know, I defend Dan pretty much on the managerial moves. There are times I'll go, I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. But I'm pretty fair, right? Because I think a lot of managers are the same. I think a lot of them are just former catchers that are, out there. And there's always alternatives that could be better. But I always try to be very fair with managerial moves. I think John Schneider's been pretty awful this series for the Blue Jays. I thought way too quick of a hook on Gausman yesterday. I did not get sending Yusevich out there for the 5th inning. Now, it may be because Gausman only went 5 2/3 yesterday, but Gausman only went 5 2/3 because you gave him a quick hook. Didn't understand having Yusevich face the top of the order again. Now, maybe some bad luck on that grounder that Randy hits that Andres Jimenez throws away and gets to second. But I think you take the 4 innings there that Yusevich got you, especially after the first, and you move on and you get him out of there. Then walking Cal Raleigh with no outs. I don't know. I get it, right? I get putting him on for sure. He's killed the Jays, but I just don't know if with nobody out, if you walk somebody there, Julio does strike out, then Polanco gets the home run, which again, I thought, well, I'm fine with the intentional walks. There's so many good hitters in this lineup. And when they're dialed in, walk Cal you want. I'll take the base runner. But I thought Schneider did not or at least it certainly didn't push the right buttons on it, even if you think it's an okay decision there. Mayor's approach against Yusevich was fantastic. I didn't realize that. Now, the stuff is fantastic, no doubt about that. But not a lot of pitches in the zone, right? Relies on a lot of chase, and that's fine. Like Matt Brash is a guy that doesn't throw a ton of pitches in the strike zone, but the stuff is so nasty, guys chase it. Mariners did a great job spitting on that splitter from Yusevich. If it was low, they just let it go. And then his fastball command wasn't great either. It settled in a little bit in some of the middle innings, but even there, I thought there was some good contact. Maybe not middle innings, but early innings still. I thought the Mariners had some pretty good contact. So I thought their approach today against him was tremendous. We've seen them sometimes struggle when they face someone for the first time, but not today. And listen, and I'm not, Yusevich is great. He's going to be a great pitcher. But, I had some Blue Jays fans in the comments say, hey, you're not ready for this guy. And he's great. Like, I wouldn't have been shocked if he pitched well. But you got to remember, like last time against the Yankees, Blue Jays won game 1, took a little bit of the pressure off him. They scored a lot of runs early. That takes some pressure off. That didn't happen today. The Mariners jump out on him first. And that's a tough spot for a kid making his 6th big league start to be pitching an ALCS game 2. That is a lot of pressure on a youngster. Doesn't mean he's not tremendous. He absolutely is. And he's going to be a great pitcher. But that's a lot on a guy to make your 6th big league start in the ALCS when you're down 1-0 and really need a W here. Let's look at the offense today for the Mariners. Fantastic. 10 hits, 6 walks, 10 runs. Randy was 1 for 4 with 2 runs scored. That was that infield hit. Randy hasn't gotten going. Been told there's playoff Randy. I saw it in 2020. The little bit I did watch of the COVID playoffs. Waiting for it. But I will say this. Mariners are winning. So they can afford to be patient with it and afford to wait it out a little bit. And if Randy can get a little hot, fantastic, right? That's just going to help elevate this lineup even more. Cal over 3, but does still walk twice. OPS over 1,000 in the postseason. Very MVP-ish, if you don't mind me saying so. Julio 1 for 4 with a 3-run home run in the first. What a way to start it from Julio, making a statement early on. He also walks, so Julio on base twice. Polanco just continues to do damage. 2 for 5, 3 RBIs, the single and the home run. How about Josh Naylor? 3 for 4 today. He was so due for a home run. He had missed like 3 or 4 of them by an inch in this postseason, and he finally gets one. Looked like that shoulder might be bothering him a little bit. He did come out of the game. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure some of that was because it was 10-3. But then right after he had that swing where it looked like he hurt himself, he made a great play at first base to get an out there, I think in the 6th inning. So I think he'll be okay. I think it was just precautionary. Let's get him 3 innings off plus tomorrow off. But a tremendous game for Josh Naylor, having his kind of playoff breakout here in 2025, or his 2025 playoff breakout. Miles Mastroboni. We got Miles Mastroboni in at bat in the playoffs. That's when you know you're cooking. He goes 0 for 1. Gino Suarez 1 for 4 with a walk. Okay. Dom base twice. We'll take it. We will take it. Dom was 0 for 2. How about the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mitch Garver with a triple off the wall in dead center field? Mitch Garver has a 1,000 OPS in this playoffs. I said during our post-game recap for the live after the Rockies, I thought Garver could have a big playoffs. He did fine against Skubal. He had a big sac fly. He had a base hit off of him in game 2, which is more than a lot of players can say against Tarek Skubal. He had a huge walk against Holton in that game 4 in Detroit. And he has a huge triple today pinch hitting for Dom Canzone, which gets the Mariners a big insurance run there after JP singled him in. So Mitch Garver had himself a nice playoff run here. Leo Rivas 0 for 1 with the walk. Love Dan having Rivas run for Garver there. I don't think it would have actually mattered. JP's hit would have fell in. Garver would have scored. But that was the right call there. Put a little more speed on the base pass than Rivas, with a nice walk and his next at bat. Robles 0 for 4 with the walk. Robles has had some solid contact. He even came up after Garver had the triple, hit it pretty hard to third base. And again, it's easy to kind of dismiss these things when the team's cooking. But I think Robles is close, to be honest. I think he's had some good contact. JP 1 for 3, 2 RBIs, had a sac fly, made it 10-3, and got that base hit in there in the 6th inning to make it 7-3. That was big because there was 1 out, runner at third, 2 strikes on him. You know, you don't get that run in. It gives Toronto a little bit of momentum maybe carrying into their next at-bats, and JP fights off a pitch and gets it out there to left center field for a base hit. Just part of what makes this lineup so difficult, right, is just anybody can get you at any time. Every single guy in that lineup is capable of doing some damage. All right, Mariners are heading home, up 2-0. Fantastic shape. They are living well right now. Let me know if you're going to be out at the ballpark this week. I hope you are, man. T-Mobile is going to be absolutely rocking for these 3 games. Well, hopefully just 2 games, but let's 1 game at a time. George Kirby has the ball game 3. I think that's the right call. It sets you up well if it does go back to Toronto that you have Logan and George Kirby. I think you prefer both of them pitching on the road. They would be lined up to pitch in Toronto. Castillo will go game 4. I think that's smart. You get Castillo at home where he's much better. You know, a little revenge time, right? Toronto came in and swept the Mariners in 3 games this season. That was not okay, right? That was a very frustrating series that we kind of called unacceptable at the time. I don't think you go with just a revenge because they beat you 3 times, but let's turn that around. Let's turn that around and get a W here to start it out at home. The best fans in baseball, especially this postseason, nobody's been rocking like T-Mobile Park. I don't think you're going to see as many Blue Jay fans. I know it's been some people's worry. Yes, I think you'll have more Blue Jays than Tigers fans. But remember, in the regular season, you have months to prepare, right? The schedule comes out. The schedule's already out for next season. So you can plan ahead. Tickets aren't as expensive. You can get down there for a weekend and watch all 3 games. A little bit tougher when you don't know what the ALCS and tickets are much more expensive. Will there be Blue Jays fans there? I'm sure. Will it be like the regular season? No. I'd be absolutely shocked if it's like the regular season. I still think it's going to be 90% Seattle Mariners fans there, and that may even be an understatement. And I hope the Mariners, I don't know how the tickets work, but I hope they made it where it was Mariner fans buying it. Not that you can know who's buying the tickets necessarily, but hopefully, something like that was in the works. 2 down, 2 to go. That's all I've got. Let's make it happen. Maybe I'll have a video out tomorrow. We'll get ready for the games at home here, and hopefully they'll lock it in. So close. Isn't it funny? It feels so close yet so far still. It's the nerves creep in. You're like, oh man, what if this happens? What if that happens? 1 game, 1 pitch at a time, everybody. That's all I'll remind you. Let's not get ahead. And that's not, again, to be negative. That's not don't get ahead of yourself here. Just 1 pitch at a time, right? George Kirby, come out, game 3, throw a strike, first pitch, keep it rolling. Just stay in good shape, stay within yourselves, and this team will be just fine. Take care, everybody. Love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, go Mariners, up 2-0 in the ALCS. Peace.